I reckon if you're confident with that, you're happy to practice it. Let's just practice it for a while. I think both styles are good, but it really just comes down to what you're focused on. Because I think it's usually a bit more psychological. Like I find sometimes even if I could just play a Hydra game good, there's like a point where I just get too defensive and I'm like, oh, I can't attack. I'm playing Hydras, and I just like lose the game. And it's purely psychological, and I just need to grind more games with Hydras. So it's
Like,
more important to just be confident.
I can beat his army, but I can't win the game with Hydra. So it's just like I can surround position, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, I won that fight, and then his production just fucking steamrolls, and I'm like, oh shit, here it comes again. But that's probably how people feel playing against Zerg anyway. Yeah, I feel like I just get too lazy playing Hydra as well. Like I get more A movie and don't micro the way I want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Hydras, if you're struggling to finish the game, it really is just a matter of getting better at, splitting off units to deny bases, right? Like leaving Zergling spotters everywhere and spreading creep really well and trying to just be like, okay, it's time to go Hive, drop a Spire at the same time as you go Hive, right? Like, so that you do go towards those Broodlords and you can still finish it with a Broodlord push.
Because my Brood play is what is dragging me. By the time it clicks into my brain that I have Hive and I have a Great Aspire, you're like, oh shit, that's right. Pull all the Corruptors back, morph them.
Yeah. I mean, it should be cool. So anyway, whichever style you want, let's just go for it. Which one are you keen to play?
Mutas. Let's get some fun.
Let's go.
Oh, by the way, do you know a guy called Plonker? From way back in the day.
Say it. How do you? Was it Plonker? Did you say?
Yeah.
Rings a vague bell.
Played with you in some tournaments and shit. I bumped into him in Brizzy a few weeks back. He's like, tell Pig that Plonker's joined the army. Plonker or Pronker or something. Alright.
Pronkers.
Yeah, that one.
Pronkers.
That's the.
Oh. Fucking. Oh, I think I can remember what he looks like as well. Really, he's in the army now.
Yeah, I had a I dropped something at an area, and then he found me through like our little army system. He's like, "Yeah, man, I got it. Come pick it up." And then he added me on Facebook, and he saw my I had some StarCraft pictures on there, and he's like, he made the connection.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, he used to stream. He was a Masters League Zerg. I've just found a Twitch post he made. Oh no, sorry, a Justin TV post he made about his stream on the Battle.net forums, and he's like, "I'm a Master Southeast Asian Zerg with commentary. Come and watch my stream." Yeah. Pronkers used to be a big Passion Lord nerd. He used to be down at events and stuff. He's a cool dude. Awesome, man. All right, well, let's get in your groove. Thunderbird noise, big map. Obviously, remember to mine down the minerals at your third by just putting a drone on that once your third finishes to open that path before any siege tanks rock up. Yeah. And likewise, same thing when you take the bottom middle base. You'll want to make sure you get rid of that middle path. But should be good, man. Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, and what could go wrong playing mutas with 200 ping?
Oh, we're playing on US West?
Yeah.
It'll be fine. You got it, man. You got this.
I've seen you beat some fucking big lords.
Hells yeah. You got it, man.
Is that 20 drone? Ah, shit.
It doesn't change too much. Allows your queens to be lined up, which is really nice in a way. Yeah, Aussie Army. Yeah, Logic is in the Aussie Army. Last I checked, I think he was good old infantryman. I don't think he was special forces. I don't know. I can't remember. I have a terrible memory. There's been quite a few people in different militaries that do play StarCraft. Oh no! Yeah, it was a little bit slow.
Oh, god damn.
Got to give those orders a little bit earlier. He was a little bit slow on that one. Okay. There's no reason for his lings to be out there. Overlord. Overlord. So he's doing a 4-queen opening. I hate 4-queen openings, guys, because guess what? You've got 4 lava right now that you're not using. 4th queen, not important to be out this early. We want to add a lot of queens later. A lot of people love these 4-queen openings. If you're going for a fast 3rd hatch, there is no reason. Check it out. 8 lava, not enough minerals to spend it. It's very typical. 4-queen openings suck if you're going for a fast 3rd hatch. I don't mind people going 4-queen if they go for an extra overlord even before they start the queens and they take a later 3rd hatch around 3:30, 3:20, 3:15. Basically, it's like you're prioritizing just droning building queens and then you drop your 3rd a little bit later, which is not bad, especially if you're going into like roach play or something like that. Did he forget to pull off gas? I think he pulled off gas a little late as well. But yeah, not a fan of this build order at all. So I'm gonna write that down here. A lot of people always start crossing their build orders over in ways which don't make sense. And this is a good example of it. 4th queen is bad. We want to just open 3 queens if we go for fast 3rd. Fast 4th queen meant you had a billion lava and no minerals early to spend them. So the fast 3rd hatch hurts, it doesn't help. So now he's going for his tech way too early as well. He hasn't even put back on gas yet, but he's going Evo Chambers and Baneling Nest. So I'm going to just shut up and let him get his own rhythm, because I know if I talk to him, I'll fuck him up more. But you can also see that I, by this point, normally have 7 or 8 queens, and I'm higher on workers. He's still only at 5 queens. So even though we got them earlier, they have some nice transfuses. Going for the queens super early, it just ruins your economic build-up too much. No spores on the bases, despite knowing it was a Hellion opening, is a big mistake. It's very lucky that Fox decided to move that Liberator. That is not a wall-off, by the way. He can actually get in there, but, you know, killing the depots is still nice damage. He can click on the command center, would actually be one of the biggest wins he could get here, but yeah, going for the workers is also nice. He's really got to focus on his own economy. He's massively supply blocked right now, and this Ling micro actually did less damage. If he'd A-moved them, they would have killed the command center on their own, I think. So the Ling micro here and all that APM did not help. Always better to err on the side of focus on your economy. He still doesn't put guys on gas at all.
Alright. Let's calm down a bit.
That's really good. He just said, let's calm down a bit. That's exactly what he needs to do. That's awesome. I like that he saw that. .430 spores. Always versus any Hellion opening. Shouldn't have microed our Lings so much. Just click them on the CC whenever it's exposed. Canceling that 3rd CC is huge. Forcing workers to evacuate was nice. But we still spent a bit too much APM chasing them. We could have clicked that CC.
Mineral field exhausted.
Forgot to put back on gas this game. Double Evo and Baneling Nest. We're way too early compared to our economy.
Under attack.
Should only start those once we have put back on gas and taken... Put back on gas plus started mining 2nd gas.
Field exhausted. Mineral field depleted.
You see, now he's stabilized and he's kind of getting everything at once and he's kind of doing it. It was just the build-up was a little bit inconsistent. That was a nice ambush if he had twice as many Lings and a ton of Banelings. But engaging the way he did there made no sense. He also droned to 80 workers without actually winning a fight. Drone to 80 workers without winning a fight. Breaks the golden rule of ZvT. Make a lot of shit off 66 workers and only drone the 4th base
Drones.
after winning an engage
Mineral cluster
or
expended. Swarm forces.
having a super clean early game. She obviously did not have a super clean early game, right, guys?
Complete.
It wasn't a terrible early game, but it just wasn't super clean. So this sort of attack was always going to cause him trouble. Now, because he had the 4th up, he's okay.
Swarm forces under attack.
So obviously we would want to normally just flank this. You'd just kind of have half your Ling-bane there, half your Ling-bane here, and you would attack it. He spread his Ling-bane, but he spread it around a single choke. So as soon as he attacks, they'll clump up by the time they get to here. You need to actually come from a different angle. Now, the Marines dropping towards the main, this is like the height of YOLO from our Terran player. But he does actually allow the tanks to escape. But should be an easy cleanup here for Logic. Okay, spreading creep is nice, but it's also one of these things where, like, he should be spreading creep there and there as well, which he isn't. He's only spreading it on one path, and he just put like 7 extra tumors on that one path, whereas I'd be much more focused on filling the gaps. Now, taking the hatch and the gas is cute, but it should have been these gases he took ages ago, and he should be already putting workers on this gas, which I like that he put those on.
Swarm forces under
Uh-oh. Should never be clicking our mutas in when we're not watching them.
sequences spun. Swarm.
He's building a second spire now.
Swarm forces under attack.
Surely that's a mistake, right?
Hive
Now he could just abandon this hatch, but he's going to go for it with only like 6 or 7 banes, so that's going to be it. He could have done some bouncing around, pulled drones and stuff, but he just over droned too much, and then yeah, got caught out there. GG's.
Oh, I feel bad.
Why?
Oh, just the early supply blocks and then trying to get that spire up.
You're doing all right. You stabilized okay after a little bit of a messy early game. It was totally fine, but we did go to 80 workers, which is just a bit too much. You know, if we'd started building Ling-bane a little bit earlier, we would have actually, I think, been able to hold on against that push, keep the 3rd alive, and it would have been a much more, you know, standard game from there, where I think you would have been doing okay. So that was definitely, I think, the key factor in that regard. In terms of your early game, you can't go for 4 queens and a fast 3rd hatch like that. So you're kind of crossing 2 build orders over in terms of efficiency. So this build order you were doing, if that's your standard, it actually handicaps you a lot because you're rushing the 3rd hatch. But if you're going 4 queens that early, you have no use for a 3rd hatch until quite a bit later. Because what happens is the moment your first inject popped on your natural, you already had 8 lava. And whilst you did have like 200 minerals, that can only still use 4 of that lava, even if you were right on top of it. So you've got like a ton of drone potential you're missing out on with this opening. So you've got to make sure if you want to go the fast 3rd, you just go 3 queens, or you delay your 3rd a little bit, focus on your, you know, non-stop overlords and drones, take your 3rd 3 minutes, 3 minutes 30, you know, a little bit later, which is like, we're talking like, you know, just before or when Ling speed's finishing, which is when a Reaper blocking it isn't really a problem by that point anyway. So, which of those two do you prefer? Do you prefer going, you know, 4 queen, having a little bit of a slower 3rd, getting your queens up very early? Or do you prefer, you know, securing the 3rd nice and early?
I prefer securing the 3rd. That double queen's kind of a reaction when I forget to either back on gas or... Like there was twice I went to start Ling speed there and it didn't work, and then I was... Like I'd look at my gas and then I'd get all confused and I was like, oh shit, what's wrong? What have I done?
Oh, so you okay? So then you saw your gas and you got confused about where you were in the game. Okay.
Yeah, like I'd think I was around the 6 minute when it was at the 4 minute, and I was like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, and this is even well before then. Like this is, those first. I'm talking about those very first 2 queens extra that you
Yeah.
built. So that's
Yeah,
like that's like 2 minutes 20 into the game or something like that, right? That's like
Yeah, when I had
super
about
early.
5 or 6 on the natural or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the build order to get thrown. Like I said, you've ended up finding your rhythm after that. But because of that, we forgot things like the spore crawler. You were very lucky that he unsieged that lib. He could have just left it on your third.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thank fuck.
Yeah, otherwise that would have been a lot more damage. But you stabilized. Then you just carried your droning a bit too hard. That's all. And once you got the momentum, you were floundering a little bit. So
I also like how I built gases on that 2 o'clock base instead of the one that I transferred to.
yeah,
Fourth,
yeah. That was very unfortunate. If we'd taken that. And then I felt like we'd lost our rhythm at that point anyway. But yeah, it was like, okay, if we'd got on those gases quicker, and then, we didn't need to defend that top base. If we gave that up and waited for some more pains, maybe we could have fought our way back into it. But it was always going to be, fighting our way back into it from the back foot. And that isn't what we don't need to be in that position, right? We don't need to be in the back foot like that. Like, because the thing is, your army value is pretty close to his. Towards the end, it's just obviously like, partly mutas. And we'd lost a lot of mutas harassing and stuff, and we never got up to the point. And then we just didn't have our banelings, like many of them, ready, and not many with our army. And obviously, lings on their own can't do it. And he just had a lot of momentum going. So, anyways, do you want to quickly queue up another? We started just under an hour ago, but we can do one more game quickly. And if the game drags on, then that's cool. I'll just pause and say my goodbyes. Be like, cool. Notes are in the document. Have a good day, and then I'll let you guys resume it. So just make me a ref once you've hosted the map up. But I think the early opening being a little bit cleaner, just remembering your gas and stuff, and everything just being a little bit tighter, that'd make things a lot easier for you. As you said, you kind of just got thrown off your rhythm a little bit. You got a bit confused with your gas. You're like, wait, ling speed's not starting? Oh, it has started. And things kind of got a little bit confused. So just make me a ref, and whenever you're ready, let's do it. Ooh, small.
Yeah, I went to move those mutas like 5 times and just like staying there. And I was like, what the fuck? I was panicking.
Yeah.
I drone micro at the start too, and I was like, spore. Fuck.
Yeah. Just got to, everything's just slightly delayed. That's fine. I like that after your ling pressure, you kind of over microed it. And it did great damage, but it did great damage before you microed it. And, you kind of said after that, you're like, okay, calm it down. And that's it. I could see the adrenaline was flowing a little bit too much. Let's try and take that adrenaline away. Organized urgency, take the adrenaline out, and just kind of, let's get it going. This should be awesome, man. Good luck, have fun.
Let's do it.
I mean, 3 queens total. And so in terms of the opening, you don't want to rush 2 queens out of your a 3rd and 4th queen immediately after your first 2. You can start a 3rd queen pretty much straight away. But you don't want to start a 4th queen. That's what I was talking to him about. If you're going for a quick 3rd, normally you go a pretty quick 3rd queen, and then it's when 2 mineral lines. So this base is full, 16 workers on minerals. That's got 16 workers on minerals, and you've got a single gas mining. That's the point where you start queuing up queens non-stop out of those 3 hatcheries for about 2 cycles. So if you're already at 3 queens, you can add another 6 and go up to 9 queens. Some people stop at about 6 or 7. They just go for a single cycle of queens. But usually if you want to be safe against Hellbats, Liberators, and BCs and stuff, going right up to 9 queens is the kind of queen-focused defensive order that you go for. But I mean, it's not like the end of the world. Like a lot of these little efficiency things, a lot of people do these problems. They make these mistakes, right? Because this is Masters 3, I'm going to call him on it. And I'm going to call other people on it and try to get them to do things more efficiently, but it's going to make a lot more of a difference here. If I'm coaching someone in Plat and they do this, I'm probably not going to mention it too much unless we have a lot of time to work on the matchup, because it's more important. Like, they're going to have so much room to make up for that little mistake as long as they just get their overall rhythm correct. Like, even in that last game, yeah, he handicapped his opening. Yeah, it slowed things down a lot. But his opponent's Hellion Reaper pressure was pretty light. So once he was able to catch up on those drones, it didn't make as big of a difference as it could have if he was hit by pressure waves harder and faster. that pressure damage, any harassment damage would have been amplified by the fact that his opening was not crisp. You know, if you slow down your droning early on and then you take a little bit of damage, that damage is way more amplified than if you had crisp, flawless droning the entire time. How long am I going to stream? Probably like 2 more hours, hour and a half, something like that.
Successful.
We will see how we go. I've got to squeeze a whole bunch of Florencio files in this week, guys. I don't know when I'll have a chance to do it, but we'll see. So hopefully he's comfortable here. I mean, his opponent was like, oh, I can't play US, I can't play Australia. But I mean, this is meant to be coaching for Logic, so I'm a little bit like, would be cool if Fox just, you know, bit the bullet at the same time. I wish Logic didn't give him the US West server, because he's clearly not used to it either. You know, at my MMR, I normally don't get AU server a lot, except some days it's fucking stupid and it just gives me heaps of AU server, and you guys hear me complain a lot on those days because I don't want to be playing people with massive MMR gaps below me on the AU server over and over again. So I get annoyed at that. I'd rather have the, you know, US West every game. But yeah, for Logic, you know, at his level Masters 3, usually playing the evenings Aussie time, which is super middle of the night US, he's usually going to be playing other Australians on the Australian server. So for him, that's what's important for him to practice. So I hope this doesn't throw him off too much. Anyways, he opened up just 3 queens here, which is way better. You can see he's queuing up more queens now. His hatch is still pretty well timed. It went down at 3 minutes. It's just important for him to keep droning. As I say that, he queues up 16 drones, 16 lings, holy shit. 24 lings is like you need to do a backstab run by or try to surround the Hellions or something to get value out of those. You know, I can argue for it and say, well, it's okay to be a little bit safer, you know, go up to 16 or 20 lings. 24, it just happens to be a lot. You know, you can see the worker count's equal when Zerg could be ahead. It's not the end of the world. It's just, you know, not my preference. I prefer to think of the Zerglings as a net, which catches Hellions if they try to run by past queens, but will never go out and engage on the edge of creep, you know? The Zerglings are a net to stop run-bys, and that's about it. They're not a chunky fucking massive Zerglings like that. So anyways, let's see how he does with it. One of the other things is, because his third wasn't finished, a lot of Zergs go, well, my third's not finished, I can't drone. My 2 bases are saturated on minerals, and it's not time to take gas. And every time I see that, I go, well, actually, it's totally fine to do that. And he didn't drop spores again, which is an absolute travesty. A cloaked banshee would be game winning. So this is really basic mistake. And he still hasn't dropped. Come on, man, you've seen a Liberator. Spore on each base. They should have gone down even before you saw an air unit, but especially once you see a Liberator, you always build a Spore on each base. Absolute crime not to. You got this, man. Everything else has been super clean. So I unmuted for a second to shout at him there, because I'm just like, come on, man. I'm like, come on. You're meant to, you see Hellions, you know there's a starport with that, unless it's a super fast 3rd CC, which is a pretty rare build. It's like, you should just be building spores, at least on your exposed bases. Like on this map, you could probably skip it on your natural, and usually you'll get away with it, right? But even then, if I see a Liberator there, I build a spore here. And a lot of inexperienced players are like, well, why do you do that? It's like, because the Liberator's going to unsiege and move down there. That's like clearly the next target, right? But it's not just that. I mean, there could be a battle cruiser follow up. There could be cloaked banshees. There's 1,000 different things that can hit you. Having a spore defends libs, defends banshees. It's the beginnings of a defense against a battle cruiser. It's so important. So anyways, he's got a 4th on the way. He's got great creep spread up here. Actually, that's a 5th. I like it. So he's got a backup hatch. Now, because his creep is so good in this direction, that's awesome. If he can get his creep out here, especially if he can take those rocks down, excuse me, that'll be amazing. He's got to take these rocks down. If you commit to this as your 4th base, you've got to break those rocks down already. I'm not going to distract him because he's got a lot of things to think about. He's got to go, you know, Baneling speed as soon as that Baneling nest's finished. He's at 56 workers. He hasn't finished droning. 14 drones on minerals. Hasn't droned the gases there. Hasn't droned the minerals on his main. And that's sloppy. I don't think he realizes how shitty his economy is right now. It's not terrible, but it's also not great. Baneling speed still hasn't started as well. And there's going to be a double drop on the way with no Banelings pre-morphed. He's got enough lings that I think he'll be okay. This is one of those things where if like 1-1 kicks in, he doesn't have 1-1. Those 1-1 Marines might just stim, Shields just finished, hold their ground, and they can beat a shit ton of Zerglings in a front-on fight. 16 Stim Marines against no Banelings. 2 upgrade advantage, they can do real well. Okay. Yeah, and now it's this... Is it the same 2 tank push? I don't see the tanks this time. Oh, his tanks are like stuck in the main or something. Oh my god, he didn't lower that depot. Yeah, his tanks are stuck. They can't get down that depot. He needs that depot lowered. So the other one's only a single hex gap. You need a double hex gap for your tanks. That's really, really good for logic. He's just made about 56 Banelings. Just a little bit over the top. He's got Bane speed. He's going the Spire. He's at 71 workers, so it's good he hasn't droned his 4th. You just want to mass units. Now, if you do feel like you've got a good-sized army, obviously at this point you can go, I've got a good army. Now I can build a big round of drones for the 4th. The problem in the previous game is what Logic did is he droned that off no units. He literally built like 12 drones for his 4th off no units, and it was like, whoa, that's crazy, man. You can't do that. He's building 9 Overlords now because he hit a supply block. Good choice. Make sure he doesn't get supply blocked ever again. And did those tanks get out here? Oh my god. The tanks are finally coming. He hasn't been backstabbing at all, or broken these rocks. And whilst he's kind of set up for a little bit of a flank, like these units are just, I don't like where they are right now. They can get baited in so easily. He should still be able to overwhelm, but look at this. This is going to be a bad start to the fight because he's going to panic. His units on the left are getting shelled. He hasn't realized yet. They're still getting shelled. Oof. He's going to go for it. Okay. Yeah, I think he can do it. Oh my god, some brutal, brutal tank shots though. Yeah, I mean, he just gave his opponent complete freedom to control that area. He should have moved out and engaged that. There was no reason not to go out and jump on that, guys. You don't let a Terran just set up on your doorstep and set up the perfect engage, because he basically started the fight before the fight really happened and took it really poorly. At any point, he could have backstabbed for huge damage, or he could have jumped on the army before the tanks were there for a really good fight once he had about 10 Banelings with Bane speed. But to just kind of wait, let the Terran push back creep, casually set up a perfect spread, and then to engage into it after taking some shelling, that's kind of the problem that happened there, was Logic didn't assert his dominance. And that's the whole point of building units non-stop off 3 base, is you can confidently take that engagement, and that's what Logic's messed up on there a little bit. So now he's engaging, but this is not the army, this is the dregs of the army. It was like a few Marines that got left behind, and he desperately needs to be making more Banelings right now. He's still got 70 workers, so he can still win this game. Doesn't have a lot of Banes. Ooh, the Banelings almost all connecting with the tanks. But he's got enough. He's got enough. Yeah, Fox has most of his units at home. His rally point's really far back. It didn't feel like a smart time for Fox to engage. After the earlier engagements, Fox should have been way ahead in army, able to reconsolidate and push again. But you can see Fox got a little bit distracted by trying to macro. Has 15 Marines rallied in the main, which he's just found. And now is bringing out his army, but he's lost a few tanks there, and he's lost a bit of momentum. He's got his 2nd and 3rd factory on the way. Problem for him, he's not going to be able to get those units out of his base. Once he builds these tech labs, I think this one will be able to get out. That one maybe can squeeze tanks out that way. Maybe we'll be... Okay, I think they might both just barely be able to squeeze tanks out once he builds tech labs, but just dodgy positioning. You never want to build these in your main. This is why people build their factories out at their 3rd. It's just to make sure their units can actually get out of the production facilities and don't get stuck. Oh, he's in trubs, guys. He's in big trubs. He should just back off from the front push. It's really not threatening anything. Whereas the 16 Marines in the main, that's the big threat right now. But he's not reacting to it. He's setting up a pre-spread. And and now he's just sending his mutas. He's over-respecting the frontal push. He should just give up this territory for sure. So he's really wanting his opponent to push forward, and he's not gonna do it. Now it's just a few mutas and a few Marines rolling into those Marines, and yeah, it's not gonna work out, unfortunately. You know, I felt like he might get back into it, but he also didn't backstab at all. So you were in a solid spot, but we didn't backstab or jump on his army. He was able to freely walk up, siege in perfect spread on high ground, and bait us into a fight after picking off many Banelings. Instead, either one, jump on his siege, jump on his units with Bane speed and a good force, crush it, respread creep,
Depleted.
and then assert map dominance. GG's. That was a close one there. Oh, man. That was a good game, though. GG's, mate.
GG's.
G to the G.
So
You're doing
main
good.
base defense.
Yeah, you're doing good that game. This map's really small, so this is a very hard map for Zerg vs Terran, where it's very important to get control in the first kind of, pressure sort of engagement. So in that map, you were doing okay. Definitely not having spores is really bad. There's a Hellion opening. You should always be building those spores at every base. But the biggest thing that happened here was we let him get too much control of the map and let him kind of pick the engagements. So I think this game was reasonably close. I think his macro probably put him in a slight lead to us, but you had some really nice creep control. You took both a 4th and a 5th base, but because you had such good creep on the north, I like you fighting to defend that base. Now, one of the big things on this map is you should always be trying to take down the rocks where you can. And I'm not saying you'd be able to get both rocks down, but you might have been able to get at least one of them down, just as a bit of prep. The other thing is, once Bane speed finishes, you have a time where your Ling-bane is very powerful, okay? So what happened is early on, he does a little bit of light pressure, you poke around a little bit, you pull back, you're like, nope, I'm going to wait for 1-1 and Bane speed. And if you did wait for that and then jumped on his push, you would have been able to just shut it down, respread creep, be in a good position. But there was a point there where you'd been kind of just sitting there for a while, waiting for him to push in. And then you started taking gases on your 4th. You started droning. I think we're going to start mutas around this time. And even though we had Bane speed, we were very afraid to go and engage him off creep. We didn't want to give him kind of the engage that he wanted. But because you'd been not droning your 4th and just kind of non-stop powering Ling-bane, you basically have two choices. It's either you jump on that army as soon as you can, while you probably have the unit advantage. He's usually not rallying non-stop across the map. And even if he is, well, you can cut off reinforcements, right? But the big thing there is if you don't do that, he's allowed to set up the perfect engagement. And that's what he did in this game. So if you go through the replay, or if you've got the stream open now, you can see me looking at it. He's able to, after accidentally locking his tanks in his main, move them all down, siege them up in this perfect pre-spread. He's got the high ground. And we've actually
locked him in.
Yeah. And we've actually had the army advantage for a little while. And we've just started investing in drones, more upgrades, spire upgrades, all these sorts of things. And the thing is, at any point here, a big counterattack would have done so much. Could have ravaged his 3rd mineral line, maybe cut off reinforcements, bottled them up a little bit. At the same time, any time before these tanks sieged would have been an awesome time to just jump on top of him. We just had so much Ling-bane. Unless he's got the splits of Maru, it's going to be probably at least a decent trade for us. But most importantly, we can get him off this territory and respread creep. And then you get your creep further out and you've got kind of control over the map, right? But because we sat back and then he was able to siege up, he killed about 8 or 10 Banelings, a whole bunch of Zerglings he kind of picked off before the fight even really started. And then when we went for it, we hadn't been building Zerglings right before. So we kind of got baited in. And we see our Ling-bane on the right took heaps of tank shots before our left-hand side even went in. It had been pulled back, so it was a bit far back. Our units on the left were kind of coming in a column rather than a true flank. Now, a better flank for this position would be if you go all the way around the right, up through the top, and actually come truly from behind. And you came from that side. Or if you went left through the middle, and then came from the other ramp there. Either of those would be better than this. This ramp you come through, your units are naturally going to have to snake around that terrain on the right, and this terrain, bam, 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 on the left, which means essentially for their pathing, there's this real narrow choke, and your units are naturally going to kind of choke point through that one. These units on the right as well are not quite positioned. Yeah, and then the units on the right, what happened with those is they were also too far north. So what happened is there's terrain blocking there, and you want your units to be coming from here so that they're going bam, 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 up into the wide open space. But if they're coming from here, they're going to clump up around this corner as they all kind of have to go south a little bit. And that's going to be a real death zone where tank splash is just absolutely maximized, where banelings automatically are going to clump up and that sort of thing. So preferably we do want to flank around, but as I said, we'd much rather engage earlier. We actually had about 25 lava just before this fight started, and we hadn't built Ling-bane in a little while. And we just started kind of mutas and lings, but we've been building drones and gases and focusing on other things. So you can imagine as well, another 50 lings in this fight, maybe it looks different, right? So from this fight, he gave up a lot of momentum. Yeah.
Beautiful position for the Terran too. Like even when he had his, I think for that second fight where he's bio more to the north, to get to that bio, I had to take some tank splash, which straight away is like me losing half my HP on him.
Yeah, which is why it's important to not let him siege up there, right? As soon as Bane speed comes, I would have been like, well, you've just massed units off 3 base saturation for the last minute and a half, right? We know we've got a good army. We know it's going to be better than the Terran army that's on our side of the map. So just jump on it, get rid of the position, dislodge it, get your creep forward, break the rocks. And as I said, you know, you look at this game and it's like, well, look at the freedom, you know? He's just been able to rally across the map, move these armies all over the shop, build a fourth on location. We could have been backstabbing, right? And it's always something where if you're not confident engaging the army, but you've been building army for a while, well, you need to be backstabbing, right? It's always one or the other. It's either you tell the Terran to get the fuck out of your territory by jumping on him, or you backstab. And you can always backstab. He raises the depots, you kill some SCVs, and then you just pull that back. But then you force him to leave a lot of supply at home, and you can always use that as the pincer, which comes in to fall on the back of your opponent's army. So you've got to make sure you focus on it that way. So awesome, man. I think that the build orders were looking a little bit cleaner here. Obviously, you just come off a big losing streak. So it's one of those things where you're going to like have a night's rest, and you're going to, wake up a day or 2 days from now, whenever, and you're going to be a different StarCraft player to what you've been the last few days. So just, have faith in the process. Have yourself a little break if you need it. Watch some replays if you need it. But just kind of try and get yourself back in the zone over the next few days. And I think this build order opening looked a lot better than the previous one. You know, your economy was a bit better off. Just keep focusing on those details little bit by little bit. You know, getting the spore crawlers on time, being really organized with how you organize your Ling-bane pressure in Zerg vs Zerg, and I think you'll see some nice success.
Cool, thanks, man. Can I ask a quick little HVT triage target army terms? I'll say priority of targetry for the mutas.
Yep.
When you're smacking into that bio, I was trying to focus the medevacs. Is that like a judgment call whether you want to take as much medevacs as you can, or just have them attack the bio as well?
Yeah, I think it's partially judgment. Sometimes I do just A-move them, but generally trying to focus the medevac, like especially if they're retreating or you're worried about them retreating because you know you've got the fight in the bag, we definitely want to focus medevacs. I definitely think if you keep the medevac low, medevac count low, it handicaps the Terran quite badly. So I would say in general, it's nice to target them, but I don't think it's like the most important thing in the world. Like sometimes if you just A-move them, it's fine, right? If you're more focused on microing your banelings onto some widow mines to detonate them manually, or grab a pack of lings and make sure they focus fire the tank while your banelings roll past or something like that, I think it's okay to just focus fire. Generally speaking, tanks would be the highest priority with mutas because they're the thing which can obviously focus them the best. And then medevacs and, well, tanks, mines, medevacs, and then just bio,
How, this part in the game now, how big was his army behind the middle?
Oh, I mean,
I was looking for it.
Yeah, you were kind of banking on him moving forward. The thing is, if he moves, I mean, he just wasn't never going to move through there. Even if he didn't see you standing there, there's just no way. Like, you just needed to give up that area and go back and try to defend, and you were still in the game. Obviously, it was just, it's the kind of cumulative effect of you getting hit this way, hit that way, but you needed to just react with everything to the main, split off a few units and go deal with this fifth base. And you still had an economy up. You still had chances in this game for sure. But I don't think your chances were high, and that's because you hadn't done a single backstab. You hadn't done anything to kind of threaten him or pull his APM away. So he had the easiest game of his life, right? It's just one of these things where there's two types of Terran players. Every Terran player looks like a god when they're in control and they get to choose when and where the fights happen. But the moment you start messing up their rhythm, the mechanical strain of Terran really starts to show. And you'll see these Terran players fall apart and run packs of Marines into Banelings, or they'll just stop dropping you as much because they're busy just trying to deal with the Ling-bane harassment. And it can be low APM. Remember, you can always just roll 10 Banelings into a mineral line or something. Like this map, this spawn location, the third's always nice vulnerable, right? Because there's no planetary. I'd just be morphing a bunch of Banes, 10 Banes, click him on the depot, shift click into the mineral line. And I would never micro it. And if I see a bunker in a tank and it gets shut down, I stop doing it. But if I don't, like this game, I keep doing it over and over and killing tons of workers, ruining his APM because then he's running SCVs. He's got to put him back on gas, back on minerals. I've got to rebuild my depot wall. Shit, I got to repair some structures and queue those SCVs back to mining. Bring some units. Okay, cool. Now let's continue my push. Oh, banelings rolled into my marines and they're all dead. Oh, fuck. There's more banelings killing the depot wall that I just rebuilt. And like you start to see the frantic panic that is a Terran player who has to deal with anything unexpected. So,
Cool.
yeah, either fuck him off when he sits on the edge of creep at a PowerPoint, right? Like I said, when Bane Speed finishes, just, Bane Speed's done. I've been building Ling-bane for 2 minutes. Let's fucking jump on this shit before he gets more tanks here, before he gets more marines. Or start backstabbing, you know, start doing some other stuff. Just cannot let a Terran set up on the edge of creep. And that map punishes us twice as hard as others because it's a real short reinforcement distance. So he's able to just get more and more units over there, and that tank count grows, and it just becomes this like impossible feeling battle. But yeah, you jump on top of that army, you start doing backstabs, it's a completely different game.
Yeah, it's like when you get angry at the ocean and start trying to punch the waves.
Yes! I love that.
Waves.
Whenever there's like a little kid, whenever you see like a real little kid at the beach, they're always doing that. They're like throwing sand at the water and they're looking real angry and shit. And you're like, what are you doing? Then I'm like, oh yeah, I've done that. I've done that as well as a little kid.
That's me playing Zerg.
GG's, man. All right, well, have a good day. Let us know how the practice goes. Drop by chat and yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'll
Thanks very much.
talk to you in chat over the next couple of weeks, man. Latest.
Thank you to the participants.
Yeah, thank you very much to them as well. All right, have a good day, man.
See you guys.
Cool, guys. Thank you very much for chilling with us. Zatchmeister, how you doing? Thanks for the 4-month resub. Thank you, dude. What should we call that coaching sesh? Coaching. ZvT Ling-bane muta coaching. I don't think the ZvZ coaching was very interesting, to be honest.